folks have got to start saying, enough is enough. We're going to start losing if we go too far. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't have debate. It's not to say that these ideas shouldn't be out there. But we got to be really mindful about how far we actually go.
If you can boil down why Colorado has turned into a socialist cesspool into one person, it's this man, Ted Trimpa, who calls himself a Democratic strategist.
Strategist, yeah. And a lawyer. Give me credit. Give me credit. Same thing.
Same damn thing.
And by the way, you're welcome.
Thank you. For what? How do you sleep at night knowing you unleashed this hell?
I get in bed.
You get in bed.
I lay back.
You drink the blood of a small child, and then you sleep like a kitten.
I sleep really well, for the most part.
All right, when you and Al Yates and the rich guys who poured all the money into what we colloquially call the blueprint, did you have any idea that it would wreak such hell afterwards?
Okay, I wouldn't say it would wreak such hell. Did I think it would be in the place that it is today? No, because that wasn't the intention.
I mean, it's French Revolution overboard at this point.
Listen, you don't have any more hair to burn. I mean,
I didn't have hair to begin with. But you've got to admit, some of the reforms you and your funders wanted are so far back in the rearview mirror. I've heard you use the word hubris of what's happened. You got to look at this sometimes and go, we got a little more than what we bargained for.
Oh, that's true. I would agree with that. Because if you take a look at the margin, take a look at the margins in the House, 46-19. I mean, the Republican caucus can fit themselves into a phone booth, and then when you look at some of the members of the Republican caucus.
And still hate each other.
And I could say two words kind of like describes what's going on for the most part with them, and that is representative bottoms. They've hit bottom. The kinds of things that he would say, the personal attacks that he did towards Titone, it's just not acceptable. And strategically for us, it's a good thing. Republicans have lost their minds again. They're now saying that, gay people are going to marry horses, that transgender people don't exist, and it allows us to play off of that. The problem is that we have so many people, and they all have their own ideas, and because we're in the majority, they have to be heard. And so it takes up more time. It's more difficult to kind of control's not the right word, but get a better sense of what the kind of policy it is that we're going to allow to move forward. And so you end up with what happened is within the Democratic caucus, you'll have a left idea in terms of how to approach something, and then something just to the right of it. And that something just to the right of it typically is something that leadership is trying to push, understandably. Because I'll be the first one to
let me rephrase this. You have an idea that's a leftist idea, and then you have a screaming communist idea, and then it starts to work. Your caucus, you have a supermajority in the House, you have a near supermajority in the Senate. Every lever of power in the state is run by the left. And the fissures...
By a Democrat, I wouldn't say the left.
By the whacked out left. And the fissures are beginning to show. The fights that are happening inside the caucus are starting to lay bare. When Republicans walked out of the House at the end of the session, rightfully so, they couldn't, it was useless for them to be there. They weren't being heard. None of their amendments were being brought up.
Oh, they were being heard.
Oh, please.
Because they would talk and 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 talk. That's being heard.
New amendments were being brought up on third reading that has never been brought up on third reading before. We've never seen such tactics brought up by a majority before.
Oh, tactics brought up by a majority. Let's see. Let's look back when I believe it was President Andrews and Norma Anderson was a majority leader in the state Senate.
On third reading?
You decided, we're going to redraw all the congressional maps in the middle of a cycle.
Don't be a sore winner. You've got control over everything, and you've had now for decades. And if you've got to go back 2 decades to find something to whine about, this is being a sore winner. let's talk about this.
Okay. All right.
After this, you've got caucus members in your caucus screaming at each other, yelling
Yeah.
at each other. You are starting to see fissures happening where you've got Democrats threatening to primary other Democrats.
Right.
And so you're starting to see the power starting to push between far left and left Democrats. There was a time that we've had Democrat control of Colorado legislature, and we've had Lamb and Romer and Ritter and others, but we've never had the type of progressives that we've had now. It is a very different. It's a very different scene down there, and you've got to
No, I
admit
agree
this.
with that. No, I think there are two things here. One is the margins are so big. Going back to what I said earlier, 46-19, there's bound to be divisions, different ideas within the 46, bound to be. You go back to these golden era times. I feel like I need to pull out a cane. I remember when it was so good, and think that that's what it should be today. Times today are different. Attitudes are different. There's opinions about environmental policy that was nowhere near what it is today 20 years ago. So we've got to accept the fact that times have changed. Now, do I think that they are as left as many people within the caucus are? No. Do I think that they're overplaying that hand? Yes. Do I think there's a lot of hubris? Yes. Do I think the margins are too much? Yes. Do I think that's bad for Colorado? Yes. Do I think the Republicans are lost and trying to find their way and don't even know how to get through the front door? Yes, except for maybe 4 or 5 of them. And that has to get fixed. Even if they only have 12, in the Senate, even if they only have 19 in the House, and I will say this about the Senate, Senator Lundeen, Leader Lundeen, I think has done a great job. That's not an easy thing to do what he's done when you have Lundeen and Gardner. They deserve a lot of credit. I disagree with some of the stuff they did and what they say.
Let's get back to some of the things that you said about the team that you helped. You were the architect that put them into power over many, many years. When you say they have too much hubris and they are too much in power, what do you mean when you say they have too much hubris, Democrats?
Well,
Put some meat on that.
Okay, I will. So of the 46, at least a third, if not a half, I really should have known this before I came on the show, are new. And some of these folks don't even know about the blueprint and what happened. I'm not saying that they all need to. It's not like they need to go to a class about it. But many of them think that, hey, I got elected, people knew what my policies were, what my positions are, and so that's what they want me to do. And there isn't a kind of a broader consideration of where the overall electorate is in Colorado. Keeping in mind almost half are unaffiliated, so they're not the far left or far right that some people in those factions believe that they are, and they overstep. It's bound to happen if you have 46 people in a caucus that there are going to be divisions. It's bound to happen. Now, do I think some of it is disrespectful? Yes. Do I think it's healthy for all we Democrats? No. Do I think it's human nature at a certain level? Yes.
What did you see as disrespectful? I'm curious. And I'll be happy to talk about some of the craziness on the Republican side.
Sure.
But that's been laid bare. It's moot at this point to talk about.
I think for members to be very, when I say public, it's not like public like they go on TV and say, oh, gee whiz, this is what I'm going to do, but very clear publicly within that world that if you don't do what I think you should do, then we're going to primary you, and being very active about it. That is too much. And my response to that is when people, because I had a couple members come off the floor and they're like, oh my God, they're threatening to primary me. What do I do? And I said, keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you think is right. And by the way, I'd love to know how they're going to primary you because they don't have 10 cents in their pocket. So let them front and wave their arms and beat their chest and threaten you. You just have to keep going. Now, the problem is that people tend to then start believing their own you-know-what. And then that creates a real problem in terms of how leadership deals with that. And I think part of the problem with the House, not problem with the House, the challenge that happened in the House, is you have a speaker that hadn't been in leadership before. And now, you know, we've never had a situation with 46, and she's expected to manage 46. And you have some really strong personalities in that caucus who push back. So read between the lines, babe. Read between the lines.
That was very tactful. That was really well done. You've got a lot of
This
people
is how
you have
I'm
to
a
please.
strategist, see?
No, that's a kiss. That was really nicely done. You have a lot of strong personalities. All right, so instead of saying, I got a lot of my party I got to take care of, but no, I got a lot of strong personalities.
Well, you know,
Now, mind you, I agree that we've never had so many new people. We also have new leadership on the Republican side. Hugh McKean, what an amazing man, passed
Yeah.
away. So even
tragic,
on the leadership
tragic.
side, and then also just a great guy. But even on the leadership side, on the Republican side, we don't have, we have neophytes running, but we also have wild divisions. But it doesn't really matter when you're in the super minority, when you're fighting a super majority.
Well, see, it does matter. It does matter because it makes it even more difficult to push something. It makes it even more difficult to do something. You know, if you have, I mean, how do you have divisions with 19? Cut people in half?
But it doesn't matter if.
Oh, but you need good debate.
No, there is no frickin' debate,
okay,
Ted.
But this is the thing. When you have Democrats,
have you
saying,
seen those committee hearings when committee chairmen have been belligerent to people giving testimony? There is no debate. Yes, Republicans can try to filibuster because, yes, there has been mismanagement of the calendar. And one of the few techniques Republicans have is to try to stretch out and filibuster.
Sure.
And so never before has calling the question and using things to end debate have been used before like it's been used now. Fine, that's part of the game, and they're able to do it.
But you know, that's a rule that's existed, you know, for the entire time.
Right, it's a rule. You can use it.
Yeah, this isn't like something that came up and was like new.
No, but it's never been used as it's been used this year. Point being that the small amount of Republicans there, whether they're unified or whether they're all off on their own island, it doesn't matter. It's moot. And to see the press, who's never had to deal with a supermajority of Democrats, still trying to beat up on Republicans like it matters, or even to see Democrats beat up on Republicans like it matters, there are no more Republicans. It's a moot point. The game is, and the press doesn't want to talk about it, and certainly Democrats don't want to talk about it, is Democrat on Democrat violence. That the divisions there is the only game really in town. And I know people don't want to talk about it, but it's going to become more and more obvious.
Oh, true.
Listen,
I'll talk about it. It's going to become more and more obvious. It's going to become more and more obvious because a lot of people on the more left are going to get even more upset because they're not getting what they want or what they think is the right thing to do. And so they're going to start expressing some of that. And this is where it's going to take leadership. And some of the folks that have been down there a little bit longer, you know, they're going to have to step up.
That statement that statement you just made is the hinge on which I want to put this conversation. Yeah, Republicans say things. I say things. But I have not seen Democrats who know better stand up and say, this has gone too far. I have not seen...
Okay, what do you want them to do? Stand on the street corner and start barking it? I mean,
I remember.
There is an elected official down there, one for sure, who did this the entire session in terms of controlling this, trying to keep us on the right track. Let's not go too far left. Literally trying to legislate, and that was Finberg, President Finberg. No, seriously, he's an extraordinary politician. And I tell you, it would have been even more mayhem had he not been there and had Dominic not been there, the majority leader. Seriously, it would have been.
Finberg has been pushing environmental...
He's from Boulder, surprise.
He's been pushing environmental extremism for years. But it's not just...
environmental extremism, okay.
Not just...
And yes, I'm rolling my eyes.
Yes. I'm going to put a jar there. Instead of a swear jar, it's going to be an eye roll jar for you. You have to put $1 in. But it's not just legislators. At this point in the body politic, there's also the groups, the commentators, the reporters, the special interest groups. There was a time when the ACLU would stand up for free speech. There was a time when the columnists would stand up. And at some point, those around the system who have spent the last couple of decades beating up on conservatives for sometimes a lot of great reasons, it's now time, I think, that those commentators, those spectators, those activists, those special interests have to go, all right, wait a second. This is going too far. We're beating up the businesses that have made Colorado vibrant, starting with our governor, who I think has been very late to the game and still hasn't stood up.
Okay, we can come back to that, but I think that's very unfair.
Really waiting to the last week to deal with an issue he has had 2 years to deal with, and dropping this turd on the table of a property tax issue.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's not leadership.
No, that's smart strategy.
Smart strategy?
Smart strategy, yeah, absolutely.
I serve that up to you. How is that good leadership, smart strategy, and how is that an answer to one of the most complex issues facing Colorado, how to deal with Colorado after after
First
Gallagher?
off, it takes longer sometimes to get these things done. In terms of figuring out...
longer than a week.
Well, no, to develop the policy and what it's going to be. And you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have...
You're really going to defend...
I'm going to defend the governor.
303.
I'm going to defend the governor. You can have these ideas and this is what you need to do, and it's in January. Heck, you can have this idea and know a year ago we really got to start addressing this problem. And you look at it and you're trying to figure out what to do. And time passes. 1 month goes by, 3 months go by, 5 months go by.
Without stakeholder input, without having a bill that people can actually look at, work on.
So stakeholder input. So no offense to you, you're a very dear friend, but you would fall on a sword for Tabor. And we've spent a lot of time, quite frankly, legislating around it. And everybody knows it. I
mean, destroying it from the outside with fee increases.
You may say that.
I do say that.
And we hear it.
No, you do it. You have destroyed Tabor with fee increases.
So they do something at the last minute. So they do something in the last 2 weeks.
After 2 years, 8 days before session, they drop a bill, 8 days before session, that if people pass, will destroy refunds forever. Really?
Oh, come on.
Oh, come on.
Destroy.
So an issue that doesn't bother you.
Oh, no.
And will not lower property taxes, but a hair.
But you know what? This is a proposal, a policy that the people have to adopt, and it's all because you guys say we have to vote on these kinds of things, which is fine. Let's vote on it. The people will have it. You'll go out. You'll run a campaign like you normally do. You're very, very good at it. You can run them on a shoestring, which is stunning in terms of how
all I have.
A half a shoestring, and it'll be difficult for us. I mean, I'm betting.
But do you think this proposition is a good policy? I want to hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we have to do something.
Oh, do we?
Yes, we do.
Why do we have to do? Why do we have to do something?
Let's not do something. Let's not do anything.
Because we destroyed Gallagher.
Let's not do anything and let people have property taxes just
Ted,
come over them like a wave.
And why is that, Ted? Why is that, Ted? Excuse me, Ted. I'm thinking, why will property taxes be going at them like a wave? Why is that, Ted? Why will property taxes this year be going at them? Why is that?
I know we got rid of Gallagher. I know.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, it was time to do that, though.
Oh, why? It was. That was time. Own up to your crap, man.
So for me, it is corner, table for one, corner, meaning me. So I get it.
So getting back to this, we are in a new reality. Let me set your table for one. I accept Colorado is in a new world. Republicans are in a minority and will be for a long time. Republican Party is in dysfunction. It will be in dysfunction for perhaps a decade. I don't see a real way for it to heal itself for quite some time.
Right.
I'm not saying it's gone forever. I see a new.
I don't think it's gone forever at all.
No, it's not gone forever, but I see it gone. I see that there'll be a new third way coming. That third way might be an unaffiliated way. It might be a rejuvenized Republican Party after
Right.
economic
I
hardship.
tell you, for
hits
all
it.
these folks that are saying, "Oh, we're going to start a new party," strategically for me, I'm like, you go for it.
No, but I do
Absolutely,
see.
you
I
go
do
for it.
see a new. I do see a new unaffiliated reality hitting Colorado, and that unaffiliated reality is going to be a threat to.
I think that's true.
To,
I think
to
'cause
Democrats
if you,
as well.
you think about the evolution of what's going on, you're seeing more and more of the extremism get some light, and in some ways get a little bit more legs than they normally deserve. And it's going to take people seeing that and going, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is actually what's going on," and then reacting to it. The thing is, we do this every day. We do this for a living. So we're in it, and we're like, hey, hello, danger, yellow flag, yellow flag, yellow flag. And people outside are the ones that are going to start reacting to it, don't see it. It's like the old adage that for those of us in campaigns, when you start seeing ads on TV and they want to make you vomit because you've seen them so much, that's the point in time, this is Pancho Hayes' old adage, that's the point in time when it's just starting to break through. And I think it's the same thing here. The challenge is what is the collateral damage as we go down this path?
The things that punch through faster, though, are pocketbooks. It was funny for me when Walmart stopped having plastic bags, and people were like, "Where's my plastic bag?" And guys, what do you mean, where's your plastic? Where have you been? Those idiots took away your plastic bags. And next January, when they're gone forever, it'd be like, those idiots know how you should live. And so there'll be more of that reality. And I
Because
get
we
it.
really want plastic, washing up on shores.
Do we have to go through this again?
Yeah, I know,
None
I
of
know,
Colorado's plastic goes into any shores.
I know,
None
but
of it.
think about it in the mountain. This stuff doesn't disintegrate.
Yes, but to say it goes into shores is
I know.
ignorant
Okay,
or a
I should have done
lie.
that. I know.
Let's just
All right.
one lie
all right,
at a time.
Corner, table for one corner.
right, just-
you did it again.
Again, yes, there's no plastic
Listen, I admit
straw.
it. I admit it.
Yes, but you see, every time a lie like that goes out, the fear goes out, and then it takes forever for it to come back in and to
All
say,
right, this
"No,
isn't
no, go."
about me lying.
Yes, but we've been through this, so obviously you knew
Okay,
better.
so, well, sometimes we have to set standards, and we agree as a society what the rules are by which we're going to operate. And that's
And
why we
lying
have.
is not
That's
one
why
of
we have a
them.
legislative process.
Yes,
you
but
get together,
lying
you debate,
is
and you
not one of
decide
them.
this is how we're going to live.
But lying is not one of them.
I mean, did you complain when all of a sudden we didn't have horse travel?
No, because markets took care of that. But lying is not one of them. And when Fenberg said, I think it was Fenberg who said, "I can put together a ghost gun in 3 minutes," he is lying.
Well, that I don't know.
Yes, I know for a fact.
I
I bet he couldn't even put together a regular gun in 5 minutes, no less carve out a receiver in 3 minutes. So that's not gonna happen. So that's the kind of lying that I find very offensive. Pardon me. Saying things that are facts that are not is offensive to me. Saying you're a good-looking man, that's not. You're a good-looking man. All right, let's get back to the part of this, though. I understand Colorado's changed, and it's changed it's going to be changed for a long time. Now that it has, the game is not the conservative side. That's moot. The game is now the system that you have helped to create. You've helped create this monster, and it has gotten, from my point of view, it has gotten out of control.
Yeah.
When I say French Revolution, fine, Frankenstein, whatever, you can come up with your own term. That's $1 in the eye roll scan. But it has created this own thing. And how does this play out? Because at some point,
I think this comes back to what I was talking about earlier, is some of this has to play out in a way where extreme things start to happen and people finally start reacting. Well, some of the policies that that they could put up, and it's like, listen, this really doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, because there are things that moved through the General Assembly this last session, and they moved in part because they're like, well, it's a Democratic bill. It's such and such's bill. We know it's going to get cleaned up at some point or it's going to die at some point, so they move it along. Well, that kind of thing catches up to you, and at some point, things start slipping through the cracks. And some of that is going to have to happen so people react. It's the same thing with Republicans. When you guys...
Did I just hear, because people weren't brave enough to kill a bad bill that they knew it was a bad bill because it would offend somebody, that bad laws were made? Is that what I just heard?
That happens.
Okay, but I didn't know if that's what I heard.
Oh, yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm saying.
All right.
Yeah.
You could have said that. All right, because I'm sorry.
Well, listen, I'm trying to be artful.
You're trying to be artful. I'm not an artful guy. I'm kind of slow. All right, so in other words, what I heard was Democrats were not courageous enough to kill bad bills.
In some instances,
because
yes.
they didn't want to stand up to their own. Mind you, Republicans have had the same issues.
It's exactly what I'm saying. It's exactly what I'm saying.
But Republicans, at least in my time, have never had a super majority and a near super majority and a Republican governor.
Because you guys have such a great system, and you know how to win elections.
Exactly.
Dollar in the eye roll bag.
Point being, we've never had the success you have created because you were the architect. So now, architect, another eye roll. God, you should be a teenage girl. You really should be a teenage girl. So
well, at least I didn't pull out my phone.
I was going to start texting. Oh my God, Dad's making me talk about my budget again. All right. So you guys can't stop some of these bad bills, and I see a lot more bad bills than I think you see.
Right.
What happens? What's next? Because these bad bills,
some Democrats have got to start to lose.
Takes years to turn into bad reality.
Well, this is where we come back to, you can only light your hair on fire so many times. Were there things that probably, that shouldn't have passed, that in terms of how I would
Name
look
a
at
couple
it?
that you think shouldn't have passed.
Oh, like I'm going to go on record. No,
yeah, go on record.
Come on.
Come on. See, again, this is the courageous thing that nobody on your side wants to go to your people and go, that was a bad idea. That was a bad idea. We should stop doing these things.
All right. Okay. All right. I will commit to this. Let's do a show. We'll go through, and I'll be explicit.
This is a show.
I think this is stupid.
Let's be explicit.
Well, I got to think about it.
Oh, you know them. You've got a
I
few in your head.
about it.
You're locked and loaded, and my guess is you have 5 in your head right now you could reel off.
Actually, I don't.
You have 2 that you could reel off. You have probably 2, 3, 4, 5 that you were paid to work against as a lobbyist. Go for them.
Okay. Why do we have to have so many license plates? I know.
It wasn't that one.
It's like we have a license plate for everything.
Have a swig of whiskey, and now tell me
all right,
which ones.
Come on, let's move on.
This is what I'm talking about, that Democrats should stand up to other Democrats. You are the only line of defense to save this damn state. Not you personally, but other people. Reasonable.
I stand up. I stand up and say that. I mean, I really need to look at a list to say these are the ones I really think are bad ideas. Because there are many. There are many.
Here's the eye roll.
Yeah.
That does feel good. I see why you do it so often.
Okay, pitch some and say these are bad ideas, and I'll tell you if I agree or not. Let's do it that way.
The governor's housing bill, his signature housing bill.
Actually, it's a market-based approach of addressing affordable housing. Seriously, it's a market-based approach. Because if you think about it today, you have folks that have 6 acres, 7 acres, houses in areas where there should be more housing. Subsidizing,
anything in the oil and gas industry.
Okay, there needs to be expedited permitting for those actors that do the right thing. There need to be emission targets that are actually realistic, that companies can actually meet, and there are companies that can. No, there are. Oh, I represent one of them.
I agree.
But
the oil and gas industry is basically dead in this state.
I wouldn't say
or dying on its last legs.
No, I wouldn't say that. Has it been bad for oil and gas? Absolutely. Do I think we've gone too far against oil and gas? Yes. Is that not completely defending what Jared's doing? Yes. Am I going to get in trouble for this? Yes. But it is true. I mean, it is a key industry of the state, and we really need to be mindful about how we're dealing with them. However,
I'll give you a soft landing here. What a pussy. Oh, my God. All right. So let me ask you this. How can we get let me rephrase. Republicans have no power. How do we get reasonable Democrats who know better, who go, this is economy crushing?
right?
How do we get those Republicans or those Democrats, whether Roy Romer, Dick Lamb, Ritter, hell, even Hickenlooper type Democrats who go, this is insane. We are not here to be woke warriors to change people's lives. We need people to be free and businesses to do business in Colorado.
Right.
How do we help them have the guts to stand up?
Start
and
defeating
stop
Democrats.
it?
Start defeating Democrats. And that's Democrats defeating Democrats.
How do we get the Democrats to defeat Democrats? Would
You know,
something
and
like
it can't be-
would something like real open primaries or jungle primaries help? What does it take to get somebody like you to sit in the seat and answer the questions honestly? Like,
Right.
this bill should have
and we're going to
stopped.
come back to some legislation I didn't like because
please.
well, no, because I don't want to come away. I don't want people to think that he's known for having opinions and now all of a sudden he doesn't have them.
No,
did he lose them when he walked down the stairs?
This is the problem I feel with the new left. It is like North Korea. You cannot speak the truth, otherwise you lose
Okay, it's
contracts.
not North Korea because
It
we
is
actually
North Korea.
feed our people.
and until you say the wrong thing, and then you're canceled, and you're afraid of saying the wrong thing.
That's the reason why we're going to go back to this because I don't want to be seen that way.
You don't want to be seen that way, but you don't want to say the wrong thing.
No, how it gets fixed is Democrats have to start to lose. And we're going to have to, within our own party, be willing to stand up, in a similar way as some Republicans did in terms of looking at your far right, the Dudley Brown, nutty gun folks that are like way nutty gun folks, not just Second Amendment folks, and go after them and say, listen, we're going to beat you in primaries. We're going to have to do the same thing. And a lot of our folks don't want to talk about it. They don't believe that it's true. It's like all Democrats are going to be there. We're all going to be together. And if you actually believe that, then you're blind because all you had to do was watch the Democratic caucus operate this last session, and you can see the divisions and battles that happened within it and the pressure tactics that were going on. And from my opinion, now here, you got me on a roll now. From my perspective, that's their prerogative. But in terms of for us and the health of the Democratic Party and for maintaining caucuses and maintaining majorities, that is unhealthy. And the only way we can fix that is some of these people have to lose. But then folks within the Democratic world and also within the business world have got to be willing to play in those primaries. And they're getting better about it. They played in a few this last cycle. But we got to stop doing this as one-off. We've got to be willing to stand up and say, this isn't us.
I came out against Dudley Brown, who was kind of the equivalent of that in Republican primaries,
Right.
because he's a charlatan. And I paid a big price for that.
Who made a lot of money.
Who made tons of money. The thing is, I don't think Dudley Brown was a true believer. I mean, he just made tons of money. I think in your world, those Dudley Brown types are true believers. They are true socialist believers. They are true social justice warriors.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're at it for the money. I think they're at it for the revolution.
Oh, of course they're not at it for the money. Okay, to say that they're at it for the revolution, I have to push back on that one, John.
Push back
It's not
any way
like
you
they
like.
sit around, in somebody's commune and pass around granola and talk about
I live
how
in
it's
Boulder.
lovely to be, it's lovely to be vegan. But can you be vegan and eat granola? That I don't know. And plan.
Yes, you can.
And plan, this is how we're going to have the revolution. Because once we get all the power, then we'll go out and we'll nationalize all the industries and we'll take private property from people and we'll make sure that John Caldera has no place to go.
They are taking my guns.
Yeah. Oh, come on. We're not either. Really, strengthening red flag laws, requiring different age requirements in terms of that is not taking your guns. Nothing.
Boulder just outlawed all my guns.
Nothing that the legislature did is taking your guns. Nothing.
We'll talk later.
Yeah, well, we can come to that. We can come to that. But let's go back. Let's go back to the.
But the point being, in the Republican ranks, we had crazies, and they cost us elections.
Yeah.
Your crazies did not cost you
Oh,
elections.
this is the revolution thing we were talking about. They're not sitting around saying they're planning the revolution. You make it sound
they're in
as if
office.
all of a sudden there's going to be a Lemez for Colorado Democrats. I mean, that's just nuts. However, they're going to have to start to lose. And that means people within our own party have to be willing. Oh, you talk about phones.
Yeah, talk about phones.
They've got to be willing to stand up. And that also means funders have got to be willing to stand up. Folks have got to start saying, enough is enough. We're going to start losing if we go too far. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't have debate. It's not to say that these ideas shouldn't be out there. But we got to be really mindful about how far we actually go. And managing that is very difficult. But some folks are going to have to, and I'm more than happy to help and state and say and wave a hand. I don't have the checkbook in order to do some of that. But it's going to take people that have the checkbook that are willing to do it. And they have to be willing to do it.
Talking about checkbooks, the way that you and Al Yates helped design.
Many people helped design. Many people.
I'm going to give you and Al Yates the largest amount of credit. But you had behind you some of the largest checkbooks, including that of Pat Stryker and help me out, the whiskey's talking, including our governor and
Somebody I used to represent.
and somebody help me out,
Gil.
Tim Gill, and of course
I'll
Rep
read about
Bridges
it.
and all the rest.
Primarily
those
Pat
same-
and Tim.
Are those same type of guys willing to go back in to rein back,
Somebody like that's got to be willing to do it. I don't know if they will. I don't
to
know if they
rein
will.
back what they've, in my terms, not yours, what they've unleashed?
I don't know. Somebody needs to. We're at a point. This is going to keep getting more towards this edge that's going to be hard to defend. Another artful way of saying this. And then at that point, when it gets too difficult to defend, we're going to start to lose. The question is, how does it swing, and how much does it swing back?
What do you mean we're going to start to lose?
Our side, Democrats, are going to start to lose.
To Republicans?
Anybody who thinks that this is a Democratic state forever and this is going to be bright blue.
Well, California
we have a
has-
lot of marijuana shops. I suggest you go down and get some more because you're really high.
Although California has stayed blue for a long, long time. It is starting to show, however, movement towards the right. It's interesting
But
that...
see, the difference, though, is that the registration numbers in California are different. You have a lot more Democrats. Here, that's not the case. In terms of registration, obviously, the fewest Republicans. And I remember when that Republican number was a lot higher. Then you have Democrats, and then there's a significant jump, and you get to unaffiliated. So that's why I say unaffiliated is like Tinder. And there could be a point where somebody, and metaphorically throws a match on it and it lights. That pendulum then can swing, and it will be, well, who are the leaders? Who are the individuals, the characters, the personalities that are able to ride that or see the light of where I think this is what the state should be doing, this is where we should be going, and take advantage of that. Now, there are advocates out there that would say something like ranked choice voting is a way to get to that. And there's arguments for it, arguments against it. And maybe that's the way to go. I don't know. I think we still got to we at least got to look at it. The thing about ranked choice voting and national popular vote is they become polarizing. It's now a Democratic conspiracy, when it really isn't. Oh, gee whiz, one person, one vote. All votes should count the same. Oh, that's a Democratic conspiracy. Really? See, I've caught you.
No, I'm just listening.
Silence, table for one, silence.
No, actually, I'm very skeptical of ranked choice voting. I like its competitor, which is called approval voting, but it's the same sort of thing. There's
Right.
also something about perhaps jungle primaries, which they use in other states. I'm open to something like that.
There needs to be a debate about all of it. We need to have a debate about it.
I don't think your team, Democrats, are going to be open to such a debate because they've got everything to lose. They have a lock on power right now.
Well, I mean, strategically speaking, you should be doing ranked choice voting in red states. So you increase the likelihood that Democrats can win. And Republicans should be doing ranked choice voting in blue states, which increases their likelihood that they're able to start winning again, because it balances some of it out. I mean, in Colorado, ranked choice voting should be the wet dream of one particular Republican consultant that runs 80% of the Republican campaigns, because it would allow them to actually start winning. But for some odd reason, they don't see the light. It's like, oh, that's evil poison, and that's evil poison, so therefore we can't do it, we can't hand it around, we can't even talk about it.
It also might
I mean, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face.
I also believe that a lot of the, I'm going to use my terminology, put it through your filter, the wild socialists in the legislature who win primaries, if there was either an open primary or ranked choice or approval voting, they might not be the choice that wins in a general. That overall, if in a general, they might win in a Democratic primary, but for their entire district, the more moderate Democrat might be the choice for that district.
Well, so for some of these methods that we're talking about, in the primary, I actually think you could have somebody that isn't quite as far right or isn't as quite far left win. I mean, I think this dream that we're going to have a unified primary, that there isn't a Democratic primary, there isn't a Republican primary, there's just one, and whatever process you use to determine who the two are going to be,
Kind of like
be in the general
the
election.
Denver mayor.
Right. I think that's a tough sell. I mean,
Why is that?
there still needs to be a two-party system. I mean,
Why?
Because it's built up this way. I mean, you have stark differences from how Republicans think about certain issues and how Democrats think about certain issues. And it's a way of making sure, it's like, hey, you all in your family, you figure stuff out. You know, throw the furniture, look at the laundry, scream, yell, do whatever you need to do, and then come back and let us know who is your person.
Open primaries.
Yeah, well, but I don't think open primaries are necessarily a bad thing. I was against it, because strategically, as a Democrat and as a partisan,
I was against it
we
too,
wanted to win.
and I've actually grown more open to it as I've seen, like Tina Peters was going to do a better job.
Yeah, well, hello, right?
Yeah. All right, I'm going to
because we have to do something.
Let me flip this over. I've been raking you over the coals.
Oh no, please, I love it.
No, let me flip this over. You're the strategist. Flip hats over and give advice to Republicans. Republicans, as I've said, are moot. I think the Republican Party in Colorado is, for the most part, dead. And I've gone through the 5 stages of grieving. I've gone through the Kubler-Ross stages, and I've done so actually years ago. So I've got many, many friends who are like, oh, no, it's going to be great. We're going to do this. They're in denial.
Right.
And pretty soon they're going to be really angry. And, and then they're going to be barking, no, we're going to be able to do this and this and this and this. Years ago, I saw this. And I've already been through those stages.
Right.
So I've been at acceptance for years. And so it's kind of hard for me to deal with many of my friends who are still, they haven't even hit denial yet. But I'm at acceptance that the Colorado Republican Party is no longer. It might come back again. It's going to take cycles. But it is, the patient on the table is not going to be resuscitated as it is.
Right.
That's my take.
I agree.
And I feel bad about that, but I'm happy that he's in a better place. All right? So you helped.
So what would I do? What would I do?
Yeah. So look at this. knowing
Stop thinking that this Republican Party is this entity that you're going to go out and fix. Figure out what the core values are in terms of what you guys believe in and what you think the state should be doing, and do a lot of research as to where people are and where unaffiliated voters are. Because I'm telling you, I still think, and people look at me like I'm nuts, I still think this is more a center-right state than center-left state. It's just that a lot of the unaffiliated people haven't been paying attention. It's not their fault. It's like, why would they pay attention? They have their lives. They're working. They're raising kids. Figure out what that is. Build something for that and the capacities that you need. But when doing that, make sure that it isn't all consultant-driven. Make sure that it isn't. Well, no, because it.
No, I couldn't agree with you more, my friend. I couldn't.
It's not to say that consultants are bad. They're not. It's just that you got to make sure.
We killed off this incredible bottle of Keeper's Heart.
I tell you, it's really good.
Well, a friend of mine is one of the owners of this company, and I hate Irish whiskey. But
Same here. This is really good.
This is amazing. It's
so is it Irish whiskey that
with
mixed bourbon?
Yeah, that's incredible.
I like it.
I think you can find it at
Argonaut. I've said this multiple times. But figure out what those capacities are, figure out how you're going to invest in those capacities, and you got to do all of them. You can't do a little piece here, a little piece there. We're going to run some stuff in these primaries over there. You got to be willing to spend some money on it, and then go and just say, this is who we are. This is where the state needs to go. In the early days when we did the quote take back or take over or whatever the heck you want to call it, all the entities that we created. None of them had the word Democrat in them.
Right.
Because being a Democrat was, not necessarily seen as a good thing. So it was like Citizens Who Love Colorado, or, the future of the world is this. I mean, I'm kind of being a little flippant, but have that, and then once you start winning, then a lot of these people within that party structure will come back. Let them sit there and whine and scream and do what they want to do. I mean, what money do they have to keep doing this?
Let me throw that back at you using my words and tell me if you think I've got it right. As I said, the patient is dead. It's not a bad thing. I've come to acceptance, and Republicans need to do the same.
See, I wouldn't say it's dead, but...
Well, this version,
I know what you're saying.
This version is dead.
I'll let you finish.
Yeah, this version is dead. And so which is not a bad thing. It means that we now have a completely clean slate, a completely clean whiteboard. We get to draw something from scratch, which is beautiful. But it means, and this is the hardest part I think people have with politics, it means that we have to accept reality. And I don't know about on your team. On my team, we don't like reality. We like our perceptions of reality. We don't like reality. Here's the reality I see in Colorado. Tell me if you think my filter is wrong. For at least the near future, next decade, Colorado is not just pro-choice. I think it's a pro-abortion state.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I mean by that is...
We weigh the most liberal abortion law in the country.
Right. Even when the governor...
And my response to that is, thank God.
Well, when I say... No, I don't say that. When the governor pushed and signed a law that said people don't even have the choice to take the abortion reversal pill, you can't say it's pro-choice. That was just ugly for him to do. Even if you can't say you're pro-choice if you say, I want to take the abortion reversal pill, and the guy says, no, you can't take it. I think that's just, you can't say you're pro-choice. You're now pro-abortion. We'll leave that for another time. But Colorado is a pro-abortion, not pro-choice, pro-abortion. Colorado is pro-LGBT. Colorado is pro-weed, now pro-mushroom. Colorado is pro...
You're welcome.
That's all you. Welcome. Colorado is pro-environmentalist, CO2, the world is climate change, whatever. Those things, except that's the way reality is.
Right.
I am not yet convinced, as a guy who's passed 2 tax cuts, that Colorado is a pro-tax, pro-regulatory, pro-woke state.
It's not. They're not. And,
it's not.
And this comes back to when you ask, okay, are there legislative things that happened that you would personally call out? Yeah, anything that's anti-business.
Right.
Democrats are going to start to lose if we don't start thinking through a business lens.
Right.
And when Romer was governor, things were seen through a business lens. When Lamb was governor, things were seen through a business lens. You could argue that when Hickenlooper was governor, you at least had
Some of that.
some of that.
Not
And
nearly enough.
And if we Democrats, if we don't start getting that, we are going to start to lose, because you can't look small business in the face and say, oh, no, 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 no. We're going to add all these extra requirements on because we know better than you. We know how to run your business better than you. We know how to tell you how many workers you need, how they should be doing their work week, how they should be paid, how often they should be there, how much notice they have to give you. I mean, all of that is crazy. You take three people who are squeaky wheels that bitch about something, and all of a sudden you're going to say, I'm going to legislate around it. When Democrats do that, that's when we start to lose. And we are running at that wall right now. And we're going to pay a price. Now, does that help?
That helps. Let me be the old guy who goes,
Eh.
I remember
So
that
do you want
it was,
Eisenhower president? Is that the time period we're going to use?
I remember it was Governor Romer who signed Independence Institute's flat tax bill into law. I remember it was Governor Romer, Democrat, who signed our idea for charter schools, one of the first in the nation, second in the nation to do so. Now 13% of all kids in Colorado are in charter schools. Remember, it was Governor Romer who signed the first bill to competitively contract 20% of RTD's bus services. Now 50% are contracted out. The savings is what is keeping RTD's fast tracks alive. That's the only thing that is keeping it alive.
Right.
Yeah, so when you say he had business, the guy ran a John Deere
dealership. They have many of them now.
Right.
It's very successful.
Right. And so when you say you believe that Colorado in its soul is still center right, I will not say the libertarian word because that scares people too much, but I tend to agree with you that I still think
economy,
in its soul,
on the economy for sure. On social issues, not.
On woke issues, I know that's a big
I know,
flurry
yeah, it's a
term,
big
flurry term. But I also think on that, people in Colorado are tired of the crime. They're tired of
as they should be.
I'm tired of a cancel culture where they're worried about saying the wrong thing at work. I think there is something here where, yeah, they're pro-abortion, they're pro-weed, they're pro-gay, they're pro-environment, they love the outdoors, but damn it, they want to control their own lives. They don't want to be regulated. And I believe the hubris of what progressives are doing could be their undoing if my team finally gets their heads out of their asses.
We should be losing.
You always should have been losing.
Well, you think for different reasons than what I think.
No, I've always said, you know my cardinal political axiom. There's nothing Republicans can't fuck up.
Well, bottom line around what's going on with we Democrats today, and that is we have to get a focus back around as to what makes this economy run. Because if you don't have an economy running, then all these other issues that we're talking about are moot. You can talk about a work week, but if you don't have a restaurant, you don't have a work week. We can talk about, regulation of oil and gas or regulation around the air. We got to be smart about what we're doing, or we're not going to have the industries that are there. Now, do I think we need to be aggressive? Absolutely. Do I think we should be more aggressive than how you would think? Absolutely. Do I think we need to be more aggressive than the majority of the oil and gas industry? Absolutely. But there is a path on environmentalism that will work, and there's a path that when you use market-based approaches, you can get to some of these places that you want. And the challenge is that you end up having to legislate for the smaller percentage of bad actors, and so then the good actors get punished. And we have to figure out a way that we're good to the good actors, but punish the bad actors. And that's what's so frustrating with a lot of the legislation that comes from the left, is you're legislating around the 15% that's a problem. And the 15% that's a problem makes the 85% that's okay, or at least the 60% that's okay, pay the price. Well, it doesn't work. It's not going to work. and we're going to lose.
Why don't you switch teams?
No.
And I'm not talking, I know you're gay, I'm not talking that switch teams. Why don't you join the right team and help save the state?
Oh, okay. So a team of two? Like where do I go?
You worked for a team of
Where
two
do I
and you
go?
took over the state. Come on, work for fiscal sanity.
Listen, I'm for fiscal sanity.
No, you're not. You just ushered in over the last 2 decades, you ushered in the team that is bringing you brought in fiscal ruin.
No, listen, what Governor Polis has a breath of fresh air in terms of how we approach. I know, and listen, I have friends on the left who scream and yell and are so mad at him, and I'm sure they have a picture up on the wall and they throw darts at it. But he's thinking about a lot of this the right way, and he's being able to do things that address.
I don't care what he thinks. I care what he puts his signature on.
I know, and a lot of what they're doing is a good approach. You're going to disagree with it because the approach actually cuts at the core of things that you really believe in and that you fight for. That's great. Believe in them, fight for them. We're going to disagree with some of them, and we're going to fight for them and believe in ways to try to change it. And then we have a debate about it, and who wins elections are the ones that make the decisions. And the way you make decisions is you win elections. And how you win elections is you create an infrastructure to do it. And the fact that your side hasn't done it is not my fault.
Doesn't mean I can't hate you.
Now, do I think that needs to exist? Absolutely. It's unhealthy.
All right, very last question, because we've been talking for a while. Off the wall. Who do you think is going to win the race for mayor for Denver? Who do you
don't
think
do
should?
this to me.
Pardon me?
Don't do this to me.
Come on.
Listen, Kelly Brough. I want Kelly Brough to be mayor. I love Michael. The city's going to win either way. I mean, you can't say the city's going to lose.
Yeah, I'm going to say
But
the city's going to lose.
I have to tell you, though, we should be raising some questions when over 7-figure money is coming into the state to help a candidate from people that don't live here, that don't have property here. The only interest is if they know this particular person, and there are other agendas that they have that may not necessarily be something that a city would be doing. And I think that raises some questions, and I think that Kelly is more appropriate for the job. I think she's more qualified for the job. I mean, she's actually effectively run the city before, and we need somebody.
Because God knows Hickenlooper didn't run it.
And well,
come on, that was good. You got to give me 2 points for that one. You got to give me 2 points for that one, and you know it's true. All right, we're going to leave it at that. My friend, thank you so much.
Always, John. Love to be here.
If you enjoyed that conversation, by all means, click one of these other great programs. We have the best conversations with the most fascinating Coloradans. And subscribe to our channel. Just click down below and hit that little bell button too. You don't want to miss a single show.